Now, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen, because I think that the move that the U.S. should take is taking over the Gaza aid effort, because President Trump has sent envoy Steve Witkoff that they're planning to lead the aid distribution in Gaza amid criticism that Israel isn't managing it properly. No, they're not. And Trump claims he doesn't like seeing babies starve, yet the plan remains controversial for potential geopolitical and humanitarian consequences. I don't think anybody likes to see babies starve. But what about this? Okay, yeah, babies, small children, adolescents, they're the most precious thing on this earth, no matter what race, creed, color, religion that they are. But people, human beings, Homo sapiens should not starve in today's society, in today's world. And after all of that, you want to send a special envoy, you want to take over the aid efforts. We may send National Guard, active duty troops to organize this aid crisis that they have in Gaza that Israel started, allegedly. Now you want to do something, but you still won't recognize Palestine as a state. Wow. That's crazy to me, folks. Because when we look at the state of Palestine, it is a fragmented land that has been divided into regions with distinct realities, yet bonded by a shared history of displacement and conflict and resilience. Why is that? The UN partition plan. And to understand its present and the heavy toil of war, we must look closely at the three main parts. You have the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, which has been demolished, and East Jerusalem. Now, the West Bank, home to over 3 million Palestinians, is a patchwork of cities, villages, and refugee camps interwoven with Israeli settlements and military checkpoints. And believe it or not, even in that area, ladies and gentlemen, life is restricted and the movement is controlled and land encroached upon, but not uniformly devastating. And the violence is sporadic, but is also less intense than in Gaza, partly because Israel maintains a different level of military engagement there, and humanitarian aid still trickles through with fewer blockades. But yet the fear and uncertainty runs deep because, again, I wonder who will stop Israel? Who will stop them? Will the United States of America stop them? I don't know, because we keep funding their efforts. Now, for nearly 2 decades, Gaza had been under an Israeli-Egyptian blockade. Its economy strangled and its infrastructure shattered. And here, war is relentless. War is relentless. In these areas, when I look at this and how there's certain countries that are playing tug of war with the region of Palestine, because again, in that, West Bank, so to speak, you have the Egyptian sort of Israeli blockade. And in that area, the economy is absolutely strangled and its infrastructure had been shattered. And I think the most important thing that I was speaking on yesterday is that the lack of open borders and scarce resources make every conflict catastrophic and trapping civilians with no safe escape. And this is the reason why Palestine needs a military. That's why they need a unifying body. An actual official government, not just governs the West Bank, not just governs the Gaza Strip, not just governs East Jerusalem, but that governs the entire state, the entire country, the entire region of Palestine. Now, when we speak about East Jerusalem, okay, when we speak about East Jerusalem, and I just want to, again, just drive this narrative home, East Jerusalem holds a different weight when we in regards to religious, political, and symbolic. With a population of around 350,000 Palestinians, it faces evictions, demolitions, and attempts to erase Palestinian presence. Every single part of Palestine is being erased. And violence flares here too, and too often is tied to protests over sovereignty and sacred sites, yet it does not see the same level of mass bombardment as Gaza. Now, imagine a scenario where the United States steps in to take over humanitarian aid distribution in Gaza. Imagine that. Now, I understand that this dynamic would shift dramatically to wrest control from Israel or even to partner with it again, because the Israeli IDF are already in place. And the White House, Washington, they would need high-level negotiations, possibly deploying U.S. agencies like USAID or USAID as we know it, that's backed by international peacekeepers who oversee entry points and convoys. And this will mark a major geopolitical maneuver, signaling a partial decoupling of Israeli control over Gaza's lifeline. Yeah, that's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. This is about Gaza's takeover. And we have to really look at how the U.S. leadership really could flow differently when it comes to medical supplies, food, water, as well as temporary shelters. Because right here on your screen, you can see a very small scale of the devastation that these people have been going to. There is no safe building in Gaza. All of 90% of Gaza is in rubble. It's demolished. Early part of the year, you had President Trump talking about taking over Gaza to make it beachfront property. Now you have Israel, by the way of Benjamin Netanyahu, and this is not the first time he stated this, to take over Gaza and occupy it. Now, if you take over Gaza and occupy it, what does that mean? That you're going to govern that region. So then again, Israel will be expanded to Gaza. Then Palestine will only be East Jerusalem and the West Bank. But then in those regards, they're being occupied in some form or matter as well. And when we're talking about taking over these aid efforts, when we look at the American logistical, our expertise in this realm could establish safe, distribution zones grounded by U.S. and or UN forces, making it harder for armed groups or contractors that are on ground to target civilians queuing for aid. Drones and satellite surveillance could monitor each drop-off, exposing violations instantly to the world. Like, when I look at this, I'm thinking about the humanitarian aid efforts of Haiti and how when our troops went over there, did we have live ammunition? Absolutely, we did. But we also have non-lethal ammunition as well, whether it be rubber bullets, in some regards, blanks. And then you just mark your magazines as if you have a piece of red tape on it. That's lethal weapon. You have green tape on it. That's rubber bullets and or blanks. It's very simple. And granted, it requires training. You look down, you get the right magazine. And if there's no lethal threat, why are innocent people being killed? Because they're trying to get food, shelter, and medical supplies and shelter for themselves and their family. Because we had the IDF and contractors on ground doing senseless killings. Again, this is not all inclusive because I know people will blow it out of proportion. I'm not stating all of the IDF and all of the contractors, but again, one bad apple spoils the bunch. As we're looking at this picture right here, let me blow this up for you guys. Because we've had, drones and satellite surveillance have been monitoring each drop off, exposing violations instantly to the world. So they have worldwide coverage of what's going on with the so-called desperate measures and the lack thereof of the aid efforts in Gaza. But let me tell you, aid is not enough to stop the senseless killings at pickup spots. And the U.S. would need to enforce no fire zones. You see what I'm referring to? No fire zones, where, again, this may take all day. But with the might of the American military and our organizational skills and our logistics expertise, we can make no fire zones where even military personnel are not carrying lethal weaponry. But we will set up a wide perimeter of entry points for people to go inside certain enclaves in an organized manner if they've been checked physically and or visually, pick up their aid packages and continue out through another exit point. but not just dropping supplies and everybody and everyone is scrambling to a particular area and fighting over each other and pushing people and killing people. And then you have certain factions of the IDF and certain contractors just letting off rounds in the crowd or shooting up in the air or shooting near the ground. But nonetheless, innocent people are getting harmed and killed. We know it's not right. Even though it's not us, you wouldn't want it to be us. You wouldn't want to be a family member or a close friend. You wouldn't want it to be. So again, if the U.S. is involved in this, we need to retract. We need to retrograde our support and resources. And we probably need to, no. I won't say probably. We need to step in to ensure that these people get the aid that they need. Because we have assisted Israel in some regard in this total destruction of the Gaza Strip. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. We need to create these no-fire zones. And we need intel that's backed by credible threats of sanctions or military accountability against those firing on civilians. Because humanitarian convoys could be accompanied by armored protection and rapid medical response units, ensuring not just delivery, but survival for those who dare to reach for bread and water under fire. Again, this is not just logistics of what they're trying to say, that it's difficult to, for these people to have airdrops of, supplies and aid. No, it's a moral turning point. Because every mother clutching a hungry child in Gaza, every boy trapped under West Bank occupation, every family in East Jerusalem facing eviction, they are not statistics. They are voices silenced by decades of war and policy failures. And our great nation, the United States of America, were to truly step in, not as an occasional donor, but as a guarantee of safety and dignity, it could change more than aid lines. It could shift the very narrative of Palestine's suffering, offering, and at last, a path where bombs do not dictate who lives to see another day. Will the United States of America step in? Will the United States of America, will the Trump administration, will President Trump recognize Palestine as a statehood, as a country? See, this was what I referred to yesterday. And now, granted, let me modify my stance very quickly. Do they have officials? Do they have politicians in Palestine? They do. Are they unified? Are they organized? I don't believe so. That's my conjecture. Because once you form a government or a military, see, one can't go without the other. You can have political officials, but you have to have a military. Every country is recognized by their military and or national security force. You need some people in place that have lethal weapons to stop, to deter, to slow down, that act as human barriers to any threat to that region. And Palestine does not have it. They are a people who are unequipped for what Israel has, the power and might of decades of American military intelligence. By the way, the CIA connection to the Mossad, number one. Number two, military weaponry, mostly from the U.S., and some that has been made by their own hands. But nonetheless, we continue to supply these things. And this has nothing against, again, as I stated before, the terrorist act that happened. Yes, Israel had every right to defend themselves. They had every right to retaliate, because America would retaliate as well. But when do we start to say, you know what? There was over 1,100 hostages taken by Hamas, and so many Israelis have been killed. And not saying tit for tat, but we're talking about almost 50,000 people have perished because of this war that are innocent people. And that includes men, women, and children. So when is enough is enough? When does America say, you know what? Enough people have died. Enough people have suffered. We're going to recognize Palestine as a statehood, and we're going to get good people, intelligent people, and we're going to partner with France and the UK. And we don't care if they want to partner with the Westerners when it comes to resources in the region or not, but we need to create a statehood of Palestine. We need to go out who's really for the people. Who are the people? Who are the names that the people are prompting up as their leaders and their politicians? It mimics Western governments, like when you have a Senate, a Congress, and legislative, executive branch, so on, judicial branch, so on and so forth, a Supreme Court. Again, that could help organize them. And as we put certain people, assist to help people to be put in place by the way of the people of Palestine, not who we choose, but to just get them organized in a matter and start to help them to build militaries. That would be a great humanitarian effort, would it not? Because in my opinion, that's the only way that Palestine is going to receive peace and not have people to just arbitrarily, when they decide to occupy the region, because now you have a government, you have officials, you're going to have embassies, you're going to have international worldwide influence, and any resources you can garner with other countries will back by your allies of any military lack thereof that you may have. They say, well, we partner with, again, I don't want to say Iran, because again, I don't think that's a great nation for Gaza and or Palestine to partner with. But when we look at all these different Middle Eastern countries that Palestine can absolutely partner with, and I stated this just yesterday: Jordan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Qatar. You have all of these non-terroristic nations in the Middle East that they can absolutely partner with. You can even partner with Pakistan, even though they have been, with conflict with India, but nonetheless, these are just some of the nations. And if America continues to recognize Afghanistan, but then again, you have terrorist groups in charge of that regime, they have to be very selective of the Middle Eastern countries that they partner with. But nonetheless, they can have the backings of the countries. And then again, I ask one last time, where are all of these powerful, rich Middle Eastern countries as they see their own people, whether they be tied by blood or religion, be destroyed?